Far beyond the known edges of their galaxy, the crew of the starship Ardent sailed silently through the endless black. The stars were bright, but empty, except for the faint hum of their ship's engines. Captain Elena Miles sat quietly in the command chair, her eyes scanning the endless stream of data flowing on her screen. Her team was deep in routine mapping new star systems, collecting samples, and searching for any sign of life beyond their home. But then, without warning, the ship's communication officer Jox froze at his console. Strange signal blinked on the radar. It was weak, barely noticeable, but it was there, a faint pulsing pattern, unlike anything the crew had seen before. The room suddenly filled with a tense silence as everyone's eyes turned to the signal. "What is that?" Lena asked, leaning forward. Her voice was calm, but carried a sharp edge of curiosity. "Where is it coming from?" "Coordinates unknown," Captain Jox replied, his fingers moving quickly over the controls. "It's coming from a small blue planet in the outer rim. The planet's atmosphere looks breathable, similar to Earth-type worlds, but this location wasn't on any of our charts." Lena's heart skipped a beat. This was not part of their mission. No one was supposed to be here. She had never heard of this planet before. The crew stared at the screen, watching the pulsing signal. It was strange, but somehow familiar. Then suddenly, the signal formed a pattern, a simple repeating code that seemed like a message. "Decode." It, Alina ordered. Crew's linguist, Dr. Reena Patel, started working fast. Everyone held their breath. Minutes passed like hours. The code was difficult to break, but then a single word appeared on the screen. "Help." The word echoed through the ship's control room like a cold wind. Everyone was silent, stunned by the simplicity and the weight of that single message. Who could be sending this, and why? Help, a plea for rescue, or a trap? The crew was split. Some were eager to investigate and offer aid, believing this could be a great moment for first contact. Others were cautious, suspecting a trick or worse, an ambush. Alina looked at her team. "We have a choice to make. We can ignore this signal and stay safe in our mission, or we can risk everything and find out what this means. I want to know. Prepare the ship for departure to this planet, but stay alert. We don't know what awaits us." Preparations began quickly. The ship's engines roared to life, and the Ardent changed course toward the mysterious planet. As they traveled, strange feelings settled over the crew, a mix of hope, fear, and uncertainty. In the ship's mess hall, Jock sat alone, staring at the signal logs on his datapad. He wondered if this was a mistake. They were about to sail into danger. But deep inside, a quiet hope whispered, maybe. This was the chance to make history. Captain Alina didn't sleep that night. She stared out at the stars through the ship's large viewport, thinking about the small blue planet waiting for them. The signal was faint, but clear. Help was needed. But from whom? And what had happened there? As they drew closer, the planet grew larger on their screens. It was beautiful, a swirl of blue oceans and white clouds with green land beneath. Looked like paradise. But the signal still carried a warning. Suddenly, alarms blared through the ship. Sensors detected something approaching fast, an unknown object coming from the planet's surface. The crew rushed to their stations, hearts pounding. The object grew larger, and on the screens it looked like a small craft, but unlike anything they had seen before. A voice crackled through the ship's communication system. It was weak and distorted, but desperate. "Don't come. Don't come closer, it's not safe." The voice faded out. Alina clenched her fists. The warning was clear. Something on this planet was dangerous, maybe deadly. Come too far to turn back. The crew prepared for landing, tension thick in the air. The once peaceful blue planet now felt like a trap. Every shadow, every sound, might hide something terrible, as the Ardent's landing gear touched down softly. On the surface, the crew looked out at the silent world. No signs of life, no welcoming signals, only the distant wind and the eerie stillness. Alina took a deep breath. Stay close, stay alert. This is only the beginning. In the dark silence of that alien world, the crew stepped out, unaware that their greatest nightmare had already begun. The crew of the Ardent stepped carefully onto the strange planet. The air was fresh, cool, and surprisingly clean. Captain Alina took a deep breath, hoping this meant the place was safe. Around them, tall trees swayed gently, and soft light filtered through thick clouds. The blue skies above looked peaceful like Earth had once been, but the quiet felt too heavy, too strange. Jock scanned the area with his instruments. "There's no sign of other life forms nearby," he said, voice low. "No animals, no humans. It's like this place was emptied overnight." Lena frowned. "But why? Where did everyone go?" The crew walked toward what looked like a city in the distance. Buildings rose tall and empty, their windows dark and broken. Streets were covered in dust, and signs of sudden chaos were everywhere. Abandoned cars, dropped belongings, even half-eaten meals left on tables. Dr. Rena's eyes filled with sadness. "They didn't leave by choice," she said softly. "Something forced them out, or worse." The crew split up to explore and search for clues. But as they moved through the silent streets, strange things began to happen. Flickering lights, sudden gusts of cold wind, and distant whispers echoed around them. Shadows darted at the edge of their vision, but when they turned, no one was there. Jocks called out over the radio. "I just saw something move near the old library." "I'm going to check it," Alina warned. "Be careful. Don't go alone." But curiosity drove Jocks forward. Inside the library, the air was thick with dust and silence. Books lay scattered on the floor, but what caught Jocks' attention was a small device blinking faintly in the corner. He picked it up and saw it was a communication terminal, still working somehow. Suddenly, the screen flickered on, showing a distorted face. The figure looked terrified. "If you find this message," the voice said, "don't trust what you see. They are not what they seem. Stay away from the shadows." Jocks' heart pounded. "What does that mean? Who are they?" Before he could answer, a cold shadow passed behind him. He spun around but saw nothing. Panic rose in his chest. Back. Outside, the crew regrouped, sharing their strange findings. Everyone felt the same unease growing in their bones. Alina gathered the team. "Something is wrong here. This place is hiding a secret, something dangerous. We must stay alert and watch each other." That night, the crew camped inside a large building for safety.
Odd.
Sleep did not come easily.
Strange noises echoed through.
The empty streets, soft footsteps, distant voices calling, an eerie silence that pressed on their minds. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the quiet. The crew rushed outside to see a dark figure disappearing into the shadows. The fear was real now. Whatever was on this planet, it was watching them. Dr. Rena shivered. "We're not alone here. They don't want us to stay." Alina nodded grimly. "We need answers. Tomorrow we explore deeper, but tonight we keep watch. No one is to be alone." The crew took turns standing guard, their eyes scanning the dark corners and empty streets. The beautiful world they had, seen from space, was a dangerous trap. The peaceful illusion hid a nightmare waiting to strike. As the first light of dawn broke, the crew prepared for another day of discovery and dread. The morning light barely warmed the cold streets of the abandoned city. Captain Alina and her crew moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing against broken walls. The peaceful beauty of the planet was fading fast, replaced by an uneasy feeling creeping into every corner. Something was very wrong. As they explored deeper, signs of life became darker and more disturbing. Walls were scratched with strange symbols, warnings or maybe cries for help. The streets held more than just silence now. Shadows seemed to twist and flicker at the edges of their vision. Every sound made them jump. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from a nearby alley. The crew froze. From the darkness, a creature lunged out, tall, thin, but with glowing eyes and sharp claws. It moved too fast for the eye to follow. Alina shouted orders, but the creature disappeared into the shadows as quickly as it came. Jocks fired a warning shot, but the bullet hit nothing but air. The crew realized this was no ordinary animal. These creatures were hunting them, silent, deadly, and clever. Dr. Rena's face was pale. Those things, they aren't natural. They're a product of something terrible. Maybe an experiment gone wrong or a virus that changed life here. Elena nodded grimly. We must stay together. Can't let them separate us. As they moved, the crew found more signs of the planet's fall. Scattered reports, damaged technology, and desperate messages hidden in underground shelters told a story of a world destroyed from within. Earth's own people had fought a deadly enemy, but lost. The creatures, it seemed, could copy human voices and faces. They whispered warnings, mimicked lost friends, and tricked the crew. Trust became a dangerous game. One night, as the crew rested in a ruined building, the lights flickered and died. A voice called out in Elena's own tone, begging for help. She froze, heart pounding. Was it a trick? Was it real? And Jock screamed. When the lights returned, he was gone. Panic spread fast. The crew realized their nightmare had only just begun. The planet that seemed so beautiful from afar was alive with terror, and it wanted them dead. The cold wind whispered through the broken streets as the Arden's crew gathered in what once was a research lab. The building stood half buried, beneath vines and dust, but inside, something still worked. Faint lights flickered on a wall of screens. Elena stared at the screens, her eyes heavy with exhaustion and worry. This place held answers, and maybe a way out. Dr. Rena carefully scanned the databanks. This was Earth's last hope, she said softly. A lab working on a cure, a weapon, something to fight back the disaster. On the screens, images flashed of scientists in hazmat suits, desperate messages, and maps of viral outbreaks, spreading fast. The planet had tried to fight a terrible plague that turned people into monstrous creatures hiding in the dark, waiting to hunt the living. But the cure never came in time. Elena's voice was low but firm. They tried to save Earth, but failed. This nightmare we face started here. Suddenly, the door creaked. Everyone tensed. A shadow moved quickly, then stopped. It's just me, said a man's voice, weak but real. The crew spun around. Survivor emerged from the dark, gaunt, tired, but alive. I thought no one else was left, Elena said cautiously. The man nodded. I stayed hidden. The creatures took the others. They're everywhere now. He told stories of how Earth's people sent signals to the stars begging for help. But no one came. The disaster spread fast, and soon the planet was lost. Elena realized their own ship's signal had answered one of these. Desperate calls, but Earth's nightmare was far from over. Tensions rose as some crew members argued. Should they risk staying to find a cure, or leave Earth to die and save themselves? Then alarms sounded. The creatures were close again, stronger and smarter than before. The crew prepared for what might be their final battle, but deep inside, Elena wondered if they could save this broken world, or if they were simply too late. The Arden's crew was trapped. The once quiet and mysterious planet had turned into a deadly battlefield. Everywhere they looked, shadows moved with deadly intent. The creatures that haunted Earth were not just beasts, they were hunters, masters of fear and deception. They had learned from every encounter, and now, they knew how to strike where it hurt most. Captain Elena stood in the control room, her face tight with worry but her eyes burning with determination. We don't have much time, she told her. Crew, they're closing in. We need to plant something bold, something final. Jocks paced anxiously. We can't fight them head on. We'll lose too many. But I found something in the underground lab. A weakness. These creatures, they don't like bright light or high-frequency sound. Rena nodded. It's true. The lab's data shows experiments with sonic weapons and intense light beams to repel the creatures. But the technology is old and fragile. Elena made her decision. Then we'll use what we have. We'll create a trap. We lure them into one place, flood it with light and sound, and end this nightmare. The crew worked fast, gathering what they could. Makeshift weapons, old lab equipment, and their own courage. The planet's ruins became their fortress. Every moment was a race against time. That night, the creatures came. From the darkness, their glowing eyes pierced the shadows.
Ow.
Their terrible growls echoed off the walls. But the crew stood firm, ready to fight for their lives and for the chance to escape. Elena's heart pounded as the creatures attacked in waves. The crew fired light beams and set off sonic devices. The creatures hissed, recoiling from the bright flashes and deafening sounds. But they kept coming, relentless, savage, and desperate. In the chaos, friendships were tested. Jock saved Rena from a close attack, but was wounded. Elena helped pull him to safety, her hands trembling but steady. "We can't hold them off forever," Rena said weakly, clutching her side. Elena knew she had to make the hardest choice. "We'll need a sacrifice," she whispered. "Someone to hold the creatures long enough for the others to reach the escape ship." The crew looked at her, shock and fear in their eyes. Then one voice broke the silence. "I'll do it," said Marcus, the ship's engineer. "I'm the oldest here. Let me buy you time." "No," Elena cried. "We all survive, or none do." But Marcus was firm. "You need to fly that ship. I'll keep the creatures busy. It's the only way." With heavy hearts, the crew agreed, Marcus armed himself with every light and sound device they had. As the creatures swarmed the fortress, he ran into the shadows. Drawing their attention, the battle raged around him, light and darkness, clashing in a brutal dance. Marcus fought with every ounce of strength he had, buying precious minutes. Back at the ship, Elena and the others raced against time, repairing damage and preparing for takeoff. But just as the engines powered up, a massive shadow lunged through the wall. Marcus screamed, caught in the creature's deadly grasp. Elena's voice broke through the comms. "We're leaving." "Marcus, hold on." With tears in her eyes, she hit the controls, lifting the Ardent off the ground. The planet's nightmare faded beneath them as the ship climbed higher. Inside, silence fell. Jock sat, bloodied, but alive. Rena stared out the viewport, pale but breathing. Elena looked at the stars, her heart heavy but burning with hope. They'd escaped the nightmare, but at a terrible cost. And as the Ardent left Earth behind, one thought haunted them all. What if the creatures had already found a way to escape too? The stars stretched endlessly outside the viewport of the Ardent as the ship flew away from the haunted planet. Inside, the crew was silent, lost in their thoughts. The nightmare they had escaped still burned in their memories. The creatures, the darkness, and the sacrifice of their friend Marcus, Captain Elena, stood alone in the command room, her hands gripping the rail tightly. She looked out at the vast galaxy, wondering what awaited them. Earth was behind them now, but its shadow followed. The creatures might still be out there, somewhere, waiting. Jax finally broke the silence. His voice was quiet but firm. "We survived, but we carry more than just scars. We carry a warning. This planet, this nightmare, it could happen anywhere." Rena nodded. "The lab data shows the creature's infection can spread. If they escape, other worlds could fall." Elena took a deep breath. "And we have a mission beyond survival. We must warn the galaxy, must prepare." The crew began to work together again, repairing the ship, analyzing the data they had saved. Slowly, hope returned. The hope that humanity could rise above the nightmare and protect others from the same fate. But deep inside, Elena knew the truth. Their fight was far from over. One day, as they scanned the dark reaches of space, the sensors picked up a strange signal. It was faint, but unmistakable. A whisper of movement, something alive, the creatures. The crew stared at the screen, fear rising again. But this time it was different. They were not just survivors. They were warriors. Elena smiled faintly. This is only the beginning. As the Ardent set a new course toward the unknown, the crew prepared for what lay ahead. Together, they would face the darkness and fight to protect the light. The galaxy was wide, full of mystery and danger. But as long as humanity stood strong, hope would never fade.